Do you remember last December in Iowa, in their Capitol building, they have a free for all when it comes to displays in the Capitol. So they had like a Catholic nativity scene. They had a display from like a local atheist group, and they also had a Satanic Temple display. And I will show it to you. This is the display that was up there in Iowa. You could see that's the head of Baphomet. I forgot if that's made of aluminum or something else. Nice and red. We got some candles there. And in case you're wondering, out around their logo, there are like 8 tablets or gravestones or something. They list the 7 fundamental tenets of the Satanic Temple, which say things like be nice to other people. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. So this was the Satanic display. And again, you understand the shock value of something like this, but also it's not that offensive. It's totally fine. You know what I mean? But as we talked about last year when that happened, people freaked out. They lost their minds over this thing. And what happened? This thing was scheduled to be up in the Iowa Capitol for a few weeks, and a couple days before it was scheduled to come down, this is what happened. I'm going to show you this tweet over here. Today at the Iowa Capitol, someone vandalized our holiday display and attempted to throw Baphomet in the trash. The statue was beyond repair, but the altar still stands. Someone vandalized the display. That's what happened back in December, and a lot of conservative Christians were very excited by that. The party of law and order loves it when you break crimes and that they like. You know what I mean? And also interesting is that this right-wing, I'm not going to call them a news outlet because they're not news, but this right-wing outlet called the Sentinel seemed to know everything about who did it and why he did it, and they had total access to this guy, and they later set up a GoFundMe on behalf of this guy. It's not a news outlet. But check this out. They figured out that the guy who did it, sorry for not highlighting it, was Michael Cassidy, a Christian and former military officer. He tore down and beheaded a Satanist altar in the Iowa Capitol. The Sentinel has exclusively learned, as if the two of them didn't talk like 2 minutes beforehand on the phone. This is what he said. The world may tell Christians to submissively accept the legitimization of Satan, but none of the founders would have considered government sanction of satanic altars inside Capitol buildings as protected by the First Amendment. Yeah, guess what? The founders also would have had their minds blown by the fact that women vote. Okay, so who cares what they thought? This guy goes on to say anti-Christian values have steadily been mainstreamed more and more in recent decades. Christians have largely acted like the proverbial frog in the boiling pot of water. I want to go back. What about the satanic display was anti-Christian? I'll show it to you again. What here is anti-Christian? Because those tablets on the bottom, they say things like, be kind. Don't lie to people. If you do something wrong, make amends. Which of those things do you think is anti-Christian? I have no idea. But that's what this guy was saying. Michael Cassidy went on to say, I saw this blasphemous statue and was outraged. That's not true. He doesn't even live in Iowa. He saw it online and he's like, I'm mad and I don't have a job. I'm going to drive to Iowa several hours and destroy it. That's what he did. He doesn't live there. My conscience is held captive to the word of God, not to bureaucratic decree, and so I acted. He says this like he's a hero. He's just a petty thug. What the hell? But guess what? They set up a legal defense fund. The Sentinel did. And look at this. Look at this. Their goal, $200,000. They have raised $134,000. It's a very lucrative thing to vandalize non-Christian displays when you are Christian. Because guess what? Christians love it. They're ethical, so they're going to give you money to thank you for the vandalism. So that's the Sentinel. Just insane. By the way, Cassidy also cited a chapter in the Bible as motivation for why he destroyed it, because he said the reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of the devil. So again, there was nothing anti-Christian about the display, unless you think anything that's not explicitly pro-Jesus is anti-Christian. It also doesn't matter what the founders thought, because Iowa lawmakers said, we want a public forum for our displays. That means they can't discriminate on the basis of religion. They chose to do it that way. They could say, no displays in the Capitol. That would be fine too. But as soon as they said we want a nativity scene, they got to open the door to everybody. They did. Everyone played by the rules except for this guy. So after he vandalized this property, oh, I got to show you this too. Look at all these tweets from right-wing places celebrating the vandalism. This is the Sentinel again. Look at this. Our site is attempting to handle a lot of traffic as people read this incredible story of Christian conviction and zeal. Yeah, it was vandalism. They're treating it like he did something heroic. Oh, look, here's Charlie Kirk. Michael Cassidy just beheaded. Whoops, why is his head everywhere? Go away, Charlie Kirk said. I'm going to relaunch that one. Come on. Oh, where did it go? Come back, Charlie Kirk. There we go. No one's ever said that before. Michael Cassidy, oh, there he is again, just beheaded a monument to Satan inside the Iowa State Capitol building. Turning Point USA is proud to pledge $10,000 to his legal defense. What the hell? This is a Twitter account. End wokeness. This is Michael Cassidy. He is a devout Christian and former military officer. He just tore down and beheaded the Satan idol that was erected in the Iowa Capitol. Not all heroes wear capes. As if he's a hero. Here's another one. Just straight up death to Satan from that guy. Young Republicans of Texas just said based because they're cool. And here's Joshua Feuerstein, the Christian nationalist from Texas. I promise if a satanic statue is ever erected in the Texas Capitol, I will personally tear it down. Like nothing like professing that you're gonna be a criminal as soon as a totally legal thing happens. So this is the reaction from the crazy right. You know what I mean? So that all happened in December. Why am I telling you all this? I'm getting there. Michael Cassidy then turned himself in because, again, he was bragging about doing this, and I think he assumed nothing bad would happen to him. It was a 4th-degree criminal mischief charge that he faced, and what that means is he might have had to pay a fine between like $315 to $1,875, and maybe spend up to a year in jail. But the jail was probably not going to happen, and the fine was nothing. I remind you, he raised like $190,000 online since that day. Okay? But jail time was a possibility. By the way, I want to tell you, this guy was in the military before. He was also a candidate for Congress from Mississippi. In 2022, he lost the GOP primary. Last year, he was the Republican candidate for a seat in the Mississippi State House, but he lost in the general election to a Democrat. So whatever, it's worth looking into this guy. He's not a nobody. He's the sort of Republican conservative Christian who runs for public office. Okay. So he pled guilty to those charges. He was charged with 4th-degree criminal mischief, but nothing happened after that for a while until January, when basically they upped the charges to something much more serious, which I found very interesting. Look at this right here. This is from the Des Moines Register. I want to show you. Here we go. This is from January. A charging document made public Tuesday charges him with felony 3rd-degree criminal mischief. Felony 3rd-degree criminal mischief, and notes that the act was committed in violation of individual rights under Iowa's hate crime statute. This is important. Not only is it 4th degree is minimal, 3rd degree is more serious. Not only was it criminal mischief, like it's felony criminal mischief. The penalty is higher. And then they're saying you committed a hate crime because you specifically targeted a religious minority. And when you have hate crime charges, it might up the punishment even more. So it's very serious now. Evidence shows the defendant made statements to law enforcement and the public indicating he destroyed the property because of the victim's religion. And that's why they charged him with the hate crime, according to the Polk County Attorney's Office. So now it's very serious. And the question is, what were they going to do to this guy? Are they actually going to punish this guy? That was my question. And that's why it was news last week. And this is really where I wanted to get to with all this. Last week, Michael Cassidy said he's going to plead guilty. And he admitted to third-degree criminal mischief, but not as a felony. He said aggravated misdemeanor. And also, by doing that, he doesn't get the hate crime enhancement. So what does that mean, practically speaking? That means he admits in writing that he partially dismantled the display in the Iowa State Capitol building without a right or license to do so, and that the damage caused was greater than $750. He has said in writing, I did that. I caused that destruction. That was me. Also, it makes him, he has to serve 2 years of probation. He has to pay $855, which is nothing, and some amount to be determined later, which is going to be nothing. And also, he would be required to participate in a victim offender dialogue with representatives of the Satanic Temple if requested. The court is not bound to follow the sentencing recommendation in the plea. So, a couple things here. One is the Satanic Temple has the opportunity to do the funniest thing right now and just waste this dude's time and demand a dialogue with him, just to get him in front of them and have a conversation. Would be hilarious. I have seen some people online say this is a victory for Michael Cassidy because they dropped the hate crime charge. He didn't commit a hate crime. I think that's the wrong takeaway from this story, because this sort of thing happens all the time. You have some petty thug who did something stupid. Do they really want to charge him with the hate crime and try to go through that process? No, what they want is for this dude to just say, I did it, I'm guilty, so they can close the book on this guy and move on to more serious crimes. And sometimes what that means is, hey, listen, we're charging you with these very serious things, but you can plead guilty to something lesser and just say you're guilty and you can go away. Be on probation. You're not going to go to jail. And that's the compromise they made. Michael Cassidy decided, I don't want the risk of a hate crime charge. I don't want the risk of going to jail. I'll just say I'm guilty. I'll pay the fine. I'll do the whatever penalty is. I'll do it over here. And both sides agreed to that deal. Now the court has to accept it, which is a different story, but that's where they're at. I think that's a good thing. I think that is a victory for all sides involved because it means this guy is pleading. I know he said it online, but that doesn't matter. He is pleading guilty to the fact that he committed a crime. And that, I hope, sends a message to other people, all those conservatives who are celebrating what he did, that fine, if you're celebrating it and tacitly encouraging other people to do it when these satanic statues go up next year or in December, if you're encouraging them to do it, guess what? They may also be charged with a crime because this guy was charged with a crime. I don't see this as them dropping the hate crime charge so much as let's make sure we get him on something. And they did. And that is an important thing. They are not letting this guy off the hook. That is a win, even though Christian groups are celebrating this as a victory for themselves. This is not a victory for Cassidy. Okay. I think that's it. I was bothered by the fact that I saw Christian news outlets saying, like, hey, they dropped the hate crime charges. See, he didn't commit a hate crime. Now, what I'm wondering is that guy raised almost $200,000. Where is all that money going? According to the GoFundMe, or not GoFundMe, the Give, Send, Go, which is like the GoFundMe without any rules for conservatives, it's going to pay his multiple attorneys. I don't know why he needed multiple attorneys. He will have to pay the Satanic Temple for the damage he caused. But the Sentinel, the right-wing outlet, said any excess contributions will be used to defend other Christian veterans facing legal trouble through some nonprofit, which makes it sound like Cassidy is the victim of religious persecution, even though he's the bully, the instigator, who did the crime that he said he was guilty about. I did ask Lucian Greaves of the Satanic Temple, what do you think about all this? And the answer, and what he told me, I'm going to show you this so you could see it. This is what the Satanic Temple told me. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Maybe it'll it'll send a message to some people that maybe there is something genuinely unethical and not just illegal in destroying the property of a religious identity that they neither approve of nor understand. But hopefully they will at least realize that the law will act neutrally in prosecuting such attacks. Um, and I am wondering what are the Iowa lawmakers going to do now? They could just not change anything, continue their open forum like they did in the past, and see what happens. Because the Satanists might do it again and put up their statue, or they could say, you know what, we had enough chaos last year. Let's just close it. No displays for anybody this year. I'm curious to see which of those options they are going to take. But the one thing they cannot do, and it's thanks to the Satanists and the atheists for putting up their displays for making this point, they cannot allow a Christian nativity scene to go up while shutting out everybody else, which is exactly what the bigots and the vandals wanted. And they also cannot just sit idly by when some Christian extremist decides that some displays are more worthy than others. Going to stop there, take some questions. I'll move on to one last story after this, if there are any questions here. Um, another Republican felon. Wasn't that glorious? For a couple hours on Thursday. It was a good day. It was fun. I had fun on Twitter. We deserve that. I don't know if it'll impact the election that much. I hope it does, but like, it was fun. It's like they finally got him on something. He's a convicted felon forever. Nicely done, Alvin Bragg. Um, is there anything else, Dan? I can't tell. Who pockets the remainder of the GoFundMe? I answered that question. They said it's going to go to some nonprofit charity to help other victims like Cassidy, who's not a victim. So Satanists and Christians have a statue table. Could atheists make one? Yes, they can. And in fact, that is what they did in Iowa last year. In fact, when that Satanist display, Baphomet display, was up in the Iowa Capitol, there was also a display, the nativity scene from the conservative Catholic Thomas More Society. There was a display from the Freedom from Religion Foundation. There was also a display from the Iowa Atheists and Freethinkers group. So all of those displays were in the Capitol at that time.